stranger.
If that vice mayor strange, you'll address her properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Lincoln, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson, with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He
that.
was served a federal subpoena this
We
morning.
did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena. And
Most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
So there was a big story last week. Did you catch it? Where an employee or a former department head in Panama City was arrested. I'm going to start by showing you the news story, WMBB's news story. His name is Michael Johnson. He was the head of development in Panama City. He'd been there a long time. I'll let the news story tell you about why he was arrested. But then what I want to do is give you some background about Panama City and this particular individual and the city attorney, Nevin Zimmerman, and their role in awarding a giant residential development contract to Winterfell Construction, owned by County Commissioner Tommy Ham. You will not believe, you won't believe what I'm going to show you. I had this story 2 years ago, but I never told you about it. There's a lot of stuff I don't tell you about. So sue me. No, don't do that. Somebody's going to take me up on that. So I had this story a couple of years ago, and I didn't know how to break it to you because it was so complex. So I decided to take a look at it again, and I think it's important to tell the story again for the first time, really, in detail, so that if there's a big investigation going on, maybe I can point them in the right direction, you know. The reason that I suspect this is the story said that the Panama City police made the arrest. But if you listen to the city manager, Mark McQueen, Panama City, he talked about the FBI was involved. They got the FBI involved. And if you look deeper into the search warrant, you'll see that that's by the sheriff's office. Now, I believe they knew about this a couple of years ago. So I want to remind everybody about this incredible story a couple of years ago. So if it's true that the city, and they said it is working with the FBI, that tells me that there could be a hell of a lot more to this story. It also tells me a few things, and I'll just tell you right off the top. All right, I'll just tell you right off the top about it. So it was really interesting to me when they arrested Michael Johnson, the former department head, Panama City. My very first thought was, oh, snap. This could be a lot bigger than just about one guy. He was involved in a lot of things. He knew a lot of stuff with the county and with the city. I noticed that there's a lot of quiet people right now. There's a lot of nervous people, actually. I believe there are people on the county commission who are nervous. I believe that the county manager is nervous, and they should be, and others as well. So I'll tell you why. But here's what else I think. And what I'm going to tell you right now is just a guess. All right. What I'm going to tell you right now is just a guess. The rest of the stuff you're going to see for yourself. But I wouldn't be surprised if, as the Lynn Haven case is going kind of fizzling out, right? It's fizzling out because it was a terrible case. Starting with nearly 65 charges against former mayor of Lynn Haven, Margot Anderson, on 65 charges. Now it's down to two charges against Margot Anderson. WMBB would have you believe it's because her attorneys have whittled it down to two. The truth is, the prosecution has. They're the ones that dropped 23 charges recently, and it's because they're weak. They're terrible charges. From what I've seen, and I've seen the evidence, I've been to the evidentiary hearings. So I wouldn't be surprised if that case fizzles out altogether. And if it does, then you have the FBI and the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit. What are they doing? Right? They either are going to not do anything, right? We gave it a shot and geez, the judge is just so bad, whatever, right? Or they take up a new case and they get some excitement going because they really want to have this public trust unit, the sheriff's office. They like the public trust unit. They get a lot from it. They have a lot of evidence on a lot of people. So if the Lynn Haven case is fizzling out, and it is, I don't know if it'll ever go to trial. It's scheduled now for February for trial. I doubt it'll ever get to trial. I wouldn't be surprised if it's dropped and they focus on some real crimes going on in Bay County. And there are some here. So, the timing was interesting to me. They've known about what I'm going to tell you for a long time. So the timing is interesting. Let's start with who's Michael Johnson? What was the story about the former department head in Panama City? Let's go to that first. Here's WMBB. And that is Tom Huey Lewis in the news.
From his job as Panama City's community development director about 2.5 weeks ago. Tonight, he's facing grand theft charges for allegedly using that job to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars. As News 13's Carly Horn tells us, Panama City police say the money came from a nonprofit overseen by Johnson.
61-year-old Michael Johnson worked for the city of Panama City for 18 years. As the city's community development director, he could be regularly seen helping residents. But Thursday, city officials claimed that Johnson was also helping himself to hundreds of thousands of dollars that didn't belong to him.
We did become aware of this through last week through employees that brought this forward. With that, the Panama City Police Department was contacted. We began an initial investigation. We have identified certain discrepancies.
Those discrepancies include about $470,000 in funding that's missing from the nonprofit called Friends of After School program. Investigators claim over the last 10 years, Johnson wrote checks to himself out of the program's bank account. The checks were for amounts ranging from several $1,000s all the way up to $38,000. City manager Mark McQueen says it unraveled when he confronted Johnson about some unrelated management practices. Johnson immediately resigned.
One of my expectations in the city of Panama City is to always be audit ready, audit worthy every day. And clearly, in my estimation, Mr. Johnson has failed to achieve this core value that I've established for the city of Panama City.
Right now, city officials say they only know about the $470,000 that's missing, but they're still investigating.
This investigation will be time consuming. There's a lot of records that we're going to have to go through and look at, given the magnitude of the case and the size of it and the assistance that we're going to need.
Panama City Police have asked the FBI for additional help.
Federal Bureau of Investigation, who have applied us some assistance also, and they have given us agents to work hand in hand with us. It's going to be an intense accounting issue that we're going to run through.
McQueen says the development will not affect the after-school assistance program, housing programs, or the community redevelopment agency. In Panama City, Harley Horn, News 13.
Okay. So did you get that? The FBI is involved in this. This is a lot bigger than they are letting on. They have very concerned faces, I'll say that. If they're surprised right now, that there was stuff going on, it reminds me of the scene from Casablanca, right? I'm shocked to find corruption going on here. Here's your winnings, sir. Oh, thank you. You remember the scene? It's a great scene. There were a lot of questions being raised about Michael Johnson. I talked to people about Michael Johnson and my concerns with him. So let's take a look at some of this, okay? So what is the city doing right now? Well, after discovering this as a shock, City Manager Mark McQueen and the police department and the FBI, who are all surprised to find this all of a sudden, here's what they've done. So, acting swiftly about this accounting problem only, they've decided to do this. So they are undergoing a forensic audit. Raise your hand if you have faith in their forensic audit. After ex-employee's arrest on embezzlement charges. All right, see, there he is sitting there in the middle. Local officials are working to tighten any loose ends is all. In the city's policies and procedures, see. City commissioners, this was last week, a week ago, unanimously voted for Panama City to undergo a forensic audit to make sure its fiscal and operational system cannot be manipulated by employees. The audit was sparked by the October 20 arrest of Michael Johnson, the city's former community development director, who was accused of embezzling more than $470,000 from the Friends of After School Assistance Program, a nonprofit organization that supports the city's after-school assistance program. All right. And, well, let's keep going, I guess. This is Commissioner Josh Street, who was surprised and taken aback as well. How could he have known? It says this event proves that Panama City's systems and policies are still not sufficient to prevent these kinds of activities. And I have to believe we can all agree that it's unacceptable. When strong systems of internal and external accountability exist, theft is prevented in the best case and found quickly in the worst case scenarios. He introduced the motion for an audit at the Tuesday commission meeting, also personally compiled and released to city staff all texts and emails between himself and Johnson. Good idea, Josh, to get out ahead of it. Did you know anything about the houses that were being bought? I'm just curious. I'll tell you guys about that later. Just wondering. I mean, did anybody on the city commission know about the houses being bought? Were you curious about that at all? More to follow on that. It should be noted, electronic conversations between elected officials and employees in Florida are already subject to public record requests. Now, whether you get them or not is often another story, but they are subject to public record requests. Josh Street, the commissioner, also said Johnson is not the first city employee in recent years to have allegedly manipulated Panama City. Really? Who else was there? Commissioner Street. I'd love to hear you name who they are. I do believe we have systemic issues regarding procurement, auditing, and accountability practices. Yeah, among you guys, among you on the commission, and I'll prove it tonight. They've existed over multiple management administrations, clerks, and commissions. At least he said that. This is not a singular instance. Do you hear that? This is going to end up being a big deal. Since 2018, there have been issues regarding multiple employees ranging from theft involving a city-backed nonprofit to bid rigging to misappropriation of funds and now theft again. The bid rigging refers to former county commission. Well, yeah, county commissioner. Oh, gosh, I cannot believe I'm drawing a blank. Keith Baker, who used to work for the city of Panama City and was arrested, and he's already received sentencing on bid rigging. All right, so but there's a whole lot more that Josh knows about. Recommend you guys talk. And let's keep our fingers crossed that the FBI and the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit will be motivated this time. And hopefully the people involved don't have protection from the top to the bottom as they do now. All right. Now let's get to the good stuff. How about that? Let's get to what I had been concerned about 2 years ago regarding Michael Johnson and the city attorney, Nevin Zimmerman, and the housing deal. The county commissioner, see, Tommy Ham is a home builder who moonlights as a county commissioner, and his position gets him some really sweet deals like you're about to see. And Michael Johnson was instrumental in helping County Commissioner Tommy Ham's company, Winterfell Construction, get these deals. And so was Nevin Zimmerman. And it appears to me, so was City Manager Mark McQueen, who relies on those guys, right? But if I could see through it from where I was, the general's a whole lot smarter than I am. That's all I'm saying. All right. We're going to get to the good stuff right after this. You're not going to want to miss this tonight.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com. All right, here's what you won't find anywhere else. I hope if you find this interesting that you share it, tag your friends, because I think I've laid out that the arrest of department head Michael Johnson is a lot more than just an accounting issue, right? The FBI's involved. The Sheriff's Public Trust Unit's involved, although they didn't say so, but they signed off on the search warrant. All right, so here's the deal. The county received $28 million after Hurricane Michael. It's called HHRP, Hurricane Housing Recovery Program. The county asked, now here's what happened though. The county gets $28 million. And they ask for some reason, this is to rebuild residential housing that was destroyed during Hurricane Michael. And they ask, instead of the county administering it, they say, hey, why don't we get the city of Panama City to administer it? Now, I don't know why they did that. I never did get a good answer why they did that. But I will tell you that you've got two people who are home builders on the county commission and one who is the engineer of record. So 3 out of the 5 county commissioners are getting paid from rebuilding residential housing. So I think they probably wanted a little arm's distance between them administering the money. So they had Panama City administer the money. And then Panama City would vote to give the money to one of them or some of them. Little game they play. So did you get that? So they received $28 million in April of 2020. The Panama City Commission awarded Winterfell Construction a residential housing agreement called Horizon Park Developers, PC 19-009. Winterfell is owned by County Commissioner Tommy Ham. This agreement authorized City Manager Mark McQueen to sign contracts with Winterfell Construction at a 15% increase on houses, 27 of them, for Horizon Park Developers for that agreement. So when they voted in April of 2020, it was a 27 home project, and they voted to award 2 of the houses. Winterfell can start building the 2 houses. And then rather than us voting on it all the time, we're going to authorize the city manager just to sign the future contracts with the commissioner, Tommy Ham. And they can even raise the prices 15% every 2 houses. So it would go from $150,000 for affordable housing, and then they could just keep raising it 15% every 2 houses. That was the deal that they signed, okay? So that was in April. So now let's go to November of 2020. That's when things get weird. City Development Head Director Michael Johnson in November told the commissioners that they never voted on PC 19009. Nobody responded to that RFP, he told them. I'll show you him saying it in a minute. Remember, in April, they voted to award Commissioner Tommy Ham this contract, PC 19-009. But in November, I went there and I spoke to the council. I probably should show you that right now. So the reason things changed, right? In April, he got the deal. But in November, I went up there and said, you guys got a big conflict of interest here. And you really should do something about it. And they actually did, believe it or not. This is in November of 2020. I'll show you what my comments were. All right, let's see how this works out. I'm here to point out some troubling conflicts of interest with this. I believe that the city's law firm, Burke & Blue, invests in the St. Joe Company. Burke & Blue has a financial interest for the St. Joe Company to do well. St. Joe's senior vice president, general counsel, and corporate secretary is Elizabeth Walters. She was a partner with Burke & Blue, the city's law firm, and I believe she still has a financial interest in Burke & Blue. I'd like to know if I'm right about that. I'm not sure. So the city's law firm is now recommending that you award Winterfell Construction, which has a contractual relationship with the St. Joe Company. Just search joe.com/Winterfell, and you can see for yourself. Winterfell has its own website on the St. Joe Company's page. Now, if that doesn't seem incestuous enough, let's point out who owns Winterfell Construction. He sits in that seat where Commissioner Nichols is. It's Commissioner Tommy Ham. So when this government meeting ends and the next government meeting comes in, the home builder is Commissioner Tommy Ham. He abstains from voting right here in this chamber because he has financial gain in this project. That consistently leaves his constituents without a voice. Now, county and city attorneys say this is all legal. And maybe they're right. But is this right? Is this ethical? Is this honest, transparent government? Can other people get a chance to earn a living? I was going to go into the ways that you all fraternize and talk about these things, and it's not surprising that Commissioner Ham had the lowest bid. But this gets even worse. You aren't just voting to award Commissioner Tommy Ham these 2 homes today. You're voting to award Commissioner Tommy Ham all the low-income housing built for this entire project. But rather than voting as each phase comes up, today you want to give the city manager the authority to approve all future contracts with Commissioner Tommy Ham, along with a 15% increase. This is the culture of corruption that has attracted federal investigators that have magnifying glass on a couple of you here right now as we speak. At any rate, this is all wrong, and it might be illegal. It's a conflict of interest to keep doing this with other political figures in this town. Just one more thing. I was shocked to discover that Commissioner Robert Carroll, who sits where Commissioner Rader is actually the engineer of record for the city of Panama City Beach. And I'm curious, is he also the engineer of record here? Thank you. I did not get an answer to that. But to my surprise, Panama City Commissioner Jenna Halligus made a motion that would require them to vote on each phase, and it passed. The next, and I'm not going to get into all this tonight, but I suppose I'll have to soon. 2 weeks later, Commissioner Tommy Ham showed up as the home builder, had his hands on his hips, and he was pissed. Why are you guys listening to Bernie Thompson? I want you to reverse that vote and give me all of those homes back to build. That's a hell of a lot of money here. City Manager Mark McQueen can just sign them off to me rather than you guys voting on them every 2 houses out of 27. But there were other home builders there who wanted some of that work. So anyway, that was kind of what happened. So Tommy Ham already had the contract, as I told you. But on that day in November, after I said that, Michael Johnson told the commissioners that they had never voted on the housing agreement. He said nobody responded to that. So he said that on the same day, he told the Panama City commissioners that they voted on a second bid called Developers, Contractors, Builders, and it had 5 different building sites. Johnson said Winterfell was the lowest bidder on the second bid. On that same day, Attorney Nevin Zimmerman told the commissioners that he had reviewed the housing agreement with Winterfell and said that Michael Johnson was correct. And the commissioners played along with this ruse. However, on that same day in November, Attorney Zimmerman submitted a letter to the commissioners that Winterfell actually won the first bid back in March. The first bid, not the second one, if there even was a second one. The first one. It's in his letter. And if the investigators would like to know, the letter is a public record. If I got it, you guys can surely get it. Zimmerman told in a letter the commissioners that Tommy Ham won the bid in March, the first bid, but they're sitting there saying out loud that he had won a second bid, some second bid. Total contradiction. Attorney Zimmerman, his letter was correct. On November of 2020, they voted on the first bid, PC 19-2009, not the second bid, which was completely different and had 5 building sites. So the question really is, why did Attorney Zimmerman and Development Director Michael Johnson, why did they mislead the Panama City Commission on a housing agreement awarded to Winterfell Construction owned by County Commissioner Tommy Ham in 2020? Why did this happen? How did it happen? I expressed my concerns about it, but aside from Commissioner Jenna Halligus, who I just described, made a motion, she had a little interest in it. But nobody had much interest, not even City Manager Mark McQueen, who is now concerned about just the auditing of what Michael Johnson was up to. Let's take a look, though, at a video I put together and have never shown until tonight. This video you're going to see will show Michael Johnson, the community development director at the time for Panama City, who worked very closely with the county. You will see him say at one point that the commissioners, I think you're even going to see him vote on it, awarded Tommy Ham the first bid. Then you're going to hear him say nobody ever responded to the first bid. There really was no first winner. And you're going to see them contradict themselves back and forth, back and forth. Why don't we go take a look at this, because it's really shocking right after this.
Have you received a speeding ticket for which you want no points placed onto your driving record? I'm El Saulene, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
All right. So I just want you to, you may not catch all this tonight because there's a lot to it, right? But you will see Michael Johnson and attorney Nevin Zimmerman and tacitly city manager Mark McQueen all going along with this. This is unbelievable.
The next item that I have.
So this is in April. This is the first bid, April 28, 2020. And that's Nevin Zimmerman, the city attorney, describing this housing development agreement that has been awarded in April to, they're going to recommend it to Winterfell Construction.
Michael Johnson is here after I explain this, and I'm hopeful that he will come and give you a little bit more background. But this is the recommendation to approve 2 residential construction agreements. The background on these is that the city purchased 27 lots in the Horizon Park subdivision in 2019. The total cost per lot, which included the utilities and paved road, was $8,800. City staff then requested proposals to find contractors that were willing to build affordable homes at a price point that would be affordable. There were 2 contractors that responded. The one that has been selected first for 2 of the 27 lots is Winterfell Construction, and the price is.
Okay, so you heard that. This is in April, and this is the actual bid right here. This is the one that was really voted on right here in April of 2020. It is RFP, request for proposal. That's a bid. PC 19-009. This is, and it's called Horizon Park Developers. This is the only bid that was ever actually voted on and approved. But later on, they're going to claim some other phantom, completely different bid was approved, and they're going to claim that it's the same when it's completely different. So the city was operating under some phantom agreement with Commissioner Tommy Ham, and Nevin Zimmerman and Michael Johnson and city manager Mark McQueen, they all knew about this.
Is $150,000 and for approximately 13,000 square foot covered space home. And $166,000. And Michael Johnson's here, and he's available to answer any questions. But this is the first 2 of hopefully many others homes to be built.
1,300 square feet, not 13.
That's a deal.
Good deal.
That's a good deal.
So Mr. Zimmerman was correct. This agenda item is in response to bid number PC 19.
Oh, look at that. I'm right, aren't I? See, this is April. They're all saying it. They are saying in April that Tommy Ham won the bid. Now, that's important because in a little while, you're going to hear that man, Michael Johnson, tell them, along with Zimmerman, that nobody responded to this particular bid. A few months later, they're going to say nobody responded to this bid. But here they are in April of 2020 talking about it.
-0009 Horizon Park Developers for construction services pertaining to affordable housing. We did receive 2 bids as a result of the RFP. One was for Winterfell Construction. The other was for Ducky Recovery LLC. Okay. So the first bid that went out, the first RFP that was announced.
Okay, this is now in a few months later. This is now November. And now Michael Johnson is going to tell the commissioners that the first bid that went out, there was no responders to it. This is unbelievable.
was announced. The other was for Ducky Recovery LLC. So the first bid that went out, the first RFP that was announced for the entire development.
Right.
The second, and we didn't receive any responses.
Okay.
Wait,
The
what?
second RFP.
What? What? Let's go back to that. Let's go back to April.
Construction services pertaining to affordable housing. We did receive 2 bids as a result of the RFP. One was for Winterfell Construction. The other was for Ducky Recovery LLC. So the first bid that went out, the first RFP that was announced for the entire development.
Right.
The second, and we didn't receive any responses.
Okay.
The second RFP was advertised the exact same way, and we only received 2 responses. So Winterfell Construction was one, and then there was another company out of Louisiana. Both proposals described houses at a price point.
So this is him at a following meeting. So this is in November still. Okay. Now he's going to say that both bids came in at the same price, $150,000 per house. Before, in April, he said Winterfell had the lowest bid.
Point of $150,000. Another company out of Louisiana that did not get awarded the bid. Tommy did because he came in at a lower price. So, however, Winterfell Construction offered a plan for stick-built housing that was more appealing to the existing neighborhood. Staff recommends Winterfell Construction and for the attorney to review the contract for any issues, as well as allowing the city manager to sign the contract and for construction to begin.
So you're going to finance these until they get sold?
Well, in actuality,
how are you doing that?
Well, in actuality, one has already sold.
Okay.
So, yes, we do plan to finance those.
So this is him in April. Okay. This is him in April. So this is him early on. Oh, here we go.
During the construction period.
During the construction period, yes.
All right.
Wait, I'm sorry. This is not him in April. This is him in November. Okay. So this is after I went up there. Now he's trying to justify everything. All right. And now we're going to find out some things that are kind of weird. This is in November 14.
The city remains the owner.
Correct.
So this is hiring a builder to build the product, but ownership never changes. And then there'll be a closing. And I have reviewed the contracts and they're ready for the mayor.
That's the city attorney.
Okay.
Now that's the city attorney. Okay. Nevin Zimmerman, who submitted a letter on that day, on that very day, FBI, if you want to know, he submitted a letter to the council, public record, Nevin Zimmerman, city attorney, that Winterfell was awarded the contract in April, but they are sitting there telling the commissioners that nobody responded to the April bid. Why are they doing that? They're saying there was some second bid. It's all public. It's easy to find.
So, but I think what you were saying is once construction is complete, the city is actually providing the mortgage, or it will go to a new, or there'll be a private loan and then the city is done. Okay. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
That's always the requirement. So the homeowner would have to obtain financing, and then we have our down payment and closing cost assistance program, which will assist them with that aspect of it.
Yeah. So we still help, like
Yes.
bringing money to the table and all
Of
of
course.
that. What about the lot cost? Is it in there, or is that something we just eat and done? Because we're not eat, but with, community development and ship money and all that. Is that?
Well, you
how does
have
that
to
work?
include the lot cost because that's part of the entire package.
Okay.
So if the home costs $150,000, of course, we've got to add the $8,000
Okay.
lot
That's awesome.
cost. But we intend to have some savings by purchasing some of the products, the materials through the city, so we don't have to pay taxes and things like that.
So basically, the city of Panama City is going to buy the materials for the builder, Commissioner Tommy Ham, so that Commissioner Tommy Ham doesn't have to pay taxes on the materials.
So of course, that'll be taken off.
That's great. That's great.
So as we get into this and there's more and more people and somebody comes in and said, well, I'd really like this, or I'd really like that, and it would add to the price. as long as they can qualify, maybe it turns into 180,000 instead of 150 or 160 because of extra things that they want to put. We will still do the same percentages, but if somebody wanted to come in there and have an upgraded house, we don't mind as long as they qualify.
Correct. And of course, they have to find the funding for that additional upgrade. So typically what we build is a modest home. So when you start talking about stainless steel appliances, you start talking.
By the way, keep in mind, these are supposed to be affordable houses in the Linwood area to rebuild homes that were destroyed. So the people who had their homes destroyed could stay there and live. But now what they're doing is they're working to create new homes for new people to come in and upscale them. This is not for the people who lost their homes, is what I'm saying. The commissioners in Panama City and Michael Johnson, the community developer here, the head of the community development department, they didn't give a damn about the people of Linwood. They didn't give a damn about the people who lost their homes. They're plotting and scheming how to get the contracts to build the homes, upscale them, hell, and probably buy them.
Talking about Kohler faucets and things like that. We don't do all of that.
I understand.
These are spec homes.
Correct.
Right.
For lack of a better term, yeah, for right now. As I said, one is already sold, and we have we're looking at another candidate for the other house. So hopefully that will be sold as well.
Awesome. You've been working on this a while.
All right.
Good job.
Mr. Johnson, do we have a set price per square foot on these homes?
Okay, keep in mind, he is stressed out about this answer because at the time, a high price would have been about $90 per square foot. Okay. Remember, Tommy Ham gets to build these. So they're going to pay Tommy Ham. The going rate at the time was about $90 per square foot back in November of 2020. Listen to what they're going to pay Tommy Ham.
And they've agreed on when we picked the contractor.
Well, in this particular case, it's going to be somewhere around $130 a square foot.
I mean, is that okay?
Right now, the construction cost is a little higher.
Oh, yeah,
it's around 150, 155 right now.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's a 2108 Horizon Lane for folks.
2108.
It was not at 150 per square foot in November of 2020. It was about $90 per square foot in November 2020, especially for affordable housing. That, Michael Johnson, was a lie.
155 right now.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's a 2108 Horizon Lane for folks.
2108 and 2109. One's across the street from the other.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
Staff is requesting a motion to approve the two contracts.
Okay, have a motion. We approve the two.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve that. On that property, I've been passing by it ever since I was a little bitty kid. And I remember it started.
But this is the.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I messed that up. Hold on. Let me get back to that part because he's going to say something really interesting.
Contract.
Okay, have a motion. We approve.
Okay, so one of the commissioners here is going to make a motion to approve, but he's going to talk about Mr. White. I asked the Panama City officials, this, remember, is November of 2020. I asked city officials, who is Mr. White? Is it Derwin White? I got no answer ever. Under no circumstance would they tell me who Mr. White is. You're going to hear this. They wouldn't tell me.
Approve the two.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve that. On that property, I've been passing by it ever since I was a little bitty kid. And I remember it started with Mr. White on the Hope Motel Neoda. I think he had something to do with it with a group of people. And I'm glad to see it advancing the way it's advancing. And I like to.
I don't think it's Derwin White because it sounds like he's talking about a long time ago. But I don't know. They would never tell me. It was like a big secret. Who's Mr. White? And somebody else.
Make that motion for approval.
Absolutely.
I'll second the motion if we don't have one yet.
All right. Any other discussion?
I didn't have time to read the contract before this, but just just to make sure we understand, like if there's, I mean, like the contract is for the contractor to build at this price. No change orders, no, okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Nichols?
Yes.
Commissioner Halligus?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Rader?
Yes.
Mayor Brudnicki?
Yes, ma'am.
So you just saw that, right? They voted for the first bid. They've been operating, however, under some second bid that I still don't get any answers for. But, I'm going to recap for you, and I'll sign off because this is incredible. And again, I had this 2 years ago, never told you about it because it was so complex and there were other things happening. And but now with the arrest of Michael Johnson, if I've been saying Michael White, I'm sorry, of Michael Johnson, who was the community development director, this has come up again for me anyway, maybe for others. Now that the FBI is involved in this and the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit's involved in this, maybe they're looking around. Maybe they're going to need something to do after the Lynn Haven case fizzles out. All right, so here's what happened. To recap, the county received $28 million in Hurricane Housing Recovery Program, HHRP, after Hurricane Michael. The county, though, asked the city of Panama City to administer the funds. Why? I don't know. Never got an answer. But I will tell you that 3 people on the county commission, Griff Griffiths and Tommy Ham are home builders, and Robert Carroll is the engineer of record on a lot of these projects. So maybe they just wanted a little arm's distance. So they asked the city to administer the $28 million that they got to rebuild houses after Hurricane Michael. In April of 2020, Panama City Commission awarded Winterfell Construction residential housing agreement. I've got a detail wrong, and I just realized it. So please make a note, and I'll correct it after the show. Make a note. The lowest bid was received in March. In April of it looks to me like they voted. No, that was in April. I'm right. I didn't make a mistake. Yes. In April, they voted to award Winterfell Construction the residential housing agreement called Horizon Park Developers. And that was what you just saw at the end, PC 19-009. Winterfell's owned by County Commissioner Tommy Ham. That agreement authorized City Manager Mark McQueen to sign contracts with Winterfell Construction at 15% increases for all 27 homes for Horizon Park Developers Agreement. But in November, later on, City Development Director Michael Johnson told the commissioners that they never voted on that. He said nobody responded to that bid. And on that same day in November, he told the commissioners that they voted on a second bid called Developers, Contractors, Builders that had 5 different building sites. He said that Winterfell was the lowest bidder and that they voted on that. On that same day in November, City Attorney Nevin Zimmerman told the commissioners that he had reviewed the housing agreement, and he said that Michael Johnson was correct. However, on that same day in November, Attorney Zimmerman submitted a letter to the commissioners. It's a public record that Winterfell won the first bid. It was the first bid. It's always been the first bid. And you guys know that. Attorney Zimmerman's letter to the commissioners is correct. They voted on the first bid and not the second bid, which was completely different with 5 different building sites. So the question is, why did Attorney Zimmerman and Development Director Michael Johnson, why did they mislead the Panama City commissioners? And why did they go along with it on a housing agreement awarded to Winterfell Construction owned by County Commissioner Tommy Ham? just a few things that I would like to know. How about you? All right. So now I had to tell you that story. It's a long one. It's a lot to it, but I did my best to sort of lay it out for you. I'll read your comments a little bit later. Thank you for being with me. This is going to be a bigger, I think it should be anyway. The FBI is involved in it. It's not just an arrest for an accounting problem with one guy, Michael Johnson. You heard the news reports. The FBI is involved, and what they didn't tell you is the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit, they're the ones who conducted the search warrant, so they were involved too. If you'd like to support my independent efforts to tell you the rest of the story, I sure could use the help, and here's how you could do it: by becoming a patron. It's like a little tip jar, essentially. As little as $5 a month. I like to say it's the best money you can spend on the internet. Where else are you going to get this, right? I hope that you'll become a patron. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson is where you can go. You can quit at any time. It's easy to do, and it is anonymous. How about that? Anonymous, easy, and you can quit at any time. Also, I want to thank the Unknown Patriot, as always, for your support. And with that, I am going to sign out, and I will be back again soon. Thank you so much for being with me. Please help me spread the word, and let's keep an eye on what's really going on throughout Bay County.